good morning. Well, welcome back to Pineland Cottage. I thought today we'd just kind of give you a little demonstration of what we're doing today. We're preparing for our windows to go in. So we're doing what we call a pre-flash of the window openings. And I'm going to take you through and show you each step of how we pre-flash with our Huber tape system for the zip system. And yeah, so check it out and see what you think. Got a little makeshift work area, a little table and chairs with my, little rocking chair here, camping rocking chair. But yeah, we set up some lights the other day. So I got like work light, USB plugs here. Even put some work lights in on the ceiling. So it's starting to get dark here early. Daylight savings time changes today, and so I think it'll be dark around 5 o'clock. So if I want to do anything after 5 o'clock, I gotta have some light. Of course, we got our trusty LSL scraps from our studs that are like super heavy, so good paperweights. Also used for cutting. So I'm gonna start off with our pre-flash by cutting 4 corners with our Huber zip system stretch tape. So and we're going to use this LSL as a backer just to press down on and cut on. So this is our stretch tape. I'm going to cut 4 12-inch pieces, and these little marks are nice, so they're every 6 inches, so already that that's 12 inches, and it'll actually be helpful too when we go to actually install this, because what you want to do is install half of it like this. Basically that little mark right there will be right in the corner, so half of it will be on the flat and then the other half will be on the vertical. Yeah, this stuff's pretty thick and it's very pliable, so it's called stretch tape. So I mean, it's like that Stretch Armstrong character, you can stretch it all day long, but it's very, very tacky too, so you don't want to get it on itself. You just want to make sure it sticks on where it's supposed to go, because this stuff is pretty tenacious. It won't give back too easy. It'll just keep stretching and whatnot. So this is the Huber high temp ice and water shield that's going to go on the roof here shortly. The roofer's going to come back and do this. So this is like a really thick peel and stick membrane that comes in a pretty big roll. So you thought that other stuff was thick. This is really thick here. So this is of course that corner's kind of messed up, but it's like a really thick asphalt like membrane that just sticks down to the roof, and any nails or anything that goes through it will automatically seal, and it'll keep everything completely dry on top. You can have this just as a roof covering for a while. So we cut our 4 pieces of stretch tape, so we're gonna go work on a window here to pre-flash it. I mean, it's a lot of work. There's 22 windows, so I gotta do this 22 times, plus then the door openings. So this is our opening here. This window here is going into that master bath toilet room. So we'll have a window that's up high enough and far enough forward that you won't be able to see, but you'll have plenty of natural light in, and it's a smaller window. So before we get started with pre-flashing, you want to make sure that all your joints are tight, all your nails are set good, because you don't want a whole lot of bumps and whatnot in the tape. So the first step is, since we've got all that taken care of, we're gonna start running some regular zip system tape, seam tape, and this seam tape will go over the seams. So you want to do all your seams first. We're going to start at the bottom here. We got a vertical bottom one here. Yeah, I got my knife. All right, so you want to make sure you got halfway in between the tape here. Try to keep as many air bubbles out of it as possible. You just press it down here, and then we're gonna just take our knife here, and once you get it pretty much on there, then you'll want to take your zip system roller, which is just a fancy bigger J roller. And you see on here, it reminds you to roll the tape. So every time you tape something, you also want to roll it. And it's because this tape is a pressure sensitive tape. And you can see it's already, you know, pressed into the little grooves of the OSB there. You got that little pattern and design, and it keeps all the bubbles out of it, so it's nice and flat, tight. See that you got that little nail mark there, so it's hard to even see some of that stuff. So just get that nice and flat. We'll put a little piece of tape over that in a second. That seam there. That seam's all nice and rolled out. Put a small little piece of tape on that nail mark. I'm just going to cut a little piece of patch tape here. Put over that little nail head that goes back through. Alright, so now we got that vertical done. Now we're going to do the horizontal tape. I'm only going to do a couple pieces here. Not normally you go the whole row, but just since we're doing the window opening, we're only going to do about 6 to 8 inches on each side. Do a small piece here.
Does humidity have any effect on that? Like, will it feel like
No, once you get it rolled, and we'll go back and roll this in just a second. But it's a lot of tape. Because look at all these seams and stuff, and
you know, put those walls down, and I got to see the inside. And the drywall was reinforced inside.
All right, so then we're going to go up to the next small seam, and again, we're doing this really for air and water tightness. So these seams aren't waterproof, you know, so water got into them. They'd run down inside the wall. And then plus two, we don't want air, so we're trying to again make this an air tight house as much as possible. Up nice and tight. And two, see the air seal also continues on the inside now, so this wraps over the actual sheathing, that's foam sheathing. It connects back into the stud back here, so it seals the connection between the sheathing and the studs. You get a air barrier that goes all the way onto the inside. And this tape too is pretty sticky. You don't want to stick it to itself either. You can avoid it. And we're going to leave that top vertical until I get the sides done. So now those corners that we cut just a little while ago, we're going to take those corners and put those in. So again, this is that stretch tape, right? It's very stretchy, and the reason why we're using it for the corners is that way we don't have to cut some kind of weird bow tie or pig ear, or you know, make ear corners in the corner. This one piece of tape will cover the whole corner. So it's got two pieces of backing here. I'm just going to go ahead and pull both pieces off and see how sticky this stuff is. Mm-hmm. Even your fingers like to stick to it. All right, so we got all the paper backing off of this now. And I'm actually going to use that small edge that you see, that line that goes vertically like this. I'm going to use that as a guide, because we're going to put the bigger width on the outside, and then this is going to be our straight edge on the inside. And then again, this little markings here are going to be in the corner, so half and half on the vertical and on the flat. So I'm just going to go up here, just fold it back like in half here, and then kind of again use that line as a kind of a guide. I'm just going to stick that right there in the corner, lay that out like that, and then just kind of pre-tack this a little bit here. So now the piece kind of holds itself. And then I'm going to use my dandy quick flash tool here. This is just a straight edge tool, but I like it because it's nice and pointed and sharp. So not too sharp though, it won't poke through this, but basically again, I'm just going to kind of straighten this out. And then what we're going to do to get it nice and tight in the corner, I'm going to use this tool. Pull that back a little bit. I'm going to press up into the corner. You need to press up nice and tight so you get a nice, crisp, clean corner there. And then we're going to tack it here as well. All right, so we got the inside corner set. Of course, we'll come back and roll this as well, but here's the trick to this. Again, this is stretch tape, so it's nice when you got bigger hands. Just take your thumbs from the middle out and just stretch it out into this corner and get it, make sure it gets nice and tight, no bubbles. You got a sealed corner. And all this is nice and flat. Yep. I'm just gonna take my flashing tool again, make sure that corner's nice and tight in there both ways. Yep. So now, again, you've got the flashing tape on the outside. It's bringing this air barrier, covering this seam, and bringing it on into the inside of the house. And again, we're just gonna make sure we roll this. We'll roll this way, and then also this way. Make sure that corner's nice and tight. And then the outside, I'm gonna roll. Again, pressure sensitive tape, so you just need to put a little pressure on it. Make sure it's nice and tight. So that's one corner. Just gotta do that 3 more times now for one window. It's a good workout for sure. I haven't used a lot of the muscles I'm using now in a while. Yep, it's easier when you're pushing down instead of up. You get a good stretch on it. I'm just gonna roll this tape. So again, we're just using those lines as a guide. Get rid of the tape in that corner. All right, so we got our seams done, we got our corners done. Now we're gonna do the edges on the window seal and on the jamb and the head sides. I'll get this roller back in my tool belt. All right, and before we do that, we're actually gonna take our combination square and we're gonna mark on the outside of the sheathing here. Anytime you can have a guide, much easier than trying to do it freehand. So what I'm doing now is before we do the seal and the jambs and the head seam taping, I just marked on my combination square, speed square, 1 3/4 inches, and I'm putting an 1 3/4 inch mark on the outside of the sheathing just to give us a reference line where we want to put the tape to. And this is a little overkill, but I like things to be nice and neat, and I have a little OCD when it comes to, you know, things being nice and neat. Basically using these as a guideline so that when we do the tape, it's not crazy going all over the place, and you get a nice clean line. Just using a little construction Sharpie here to mark on the tape. I had tried using just a pencil, but it doesn't mark good on the tape. So now what we're gonna do in what they call the shingle style, basically means you start from the bottom and then you work your way up to the top and overlap your joints. So we're gonna start at the bottom. And the reason why I like doing the corners first with something other than the regular tape is because now I can just do straight runs. And what I mean by straight runs is that all we have to do is do one straight piece here. And we use our lines as a guide, little marks. And then what we're going to do is just fold this over in the middle, and then all we make is a little small cut here, and then we just fold this in, fold that in like that. And now that foam, that sheathing, is connected to our window seal here on the inside, and so now we have that bottom done on that corner.
It's pretty humid out here and that stuff is still sticking.
Oh yeah, this stuff will actually stick underwater. We actually used it for some of our vapor barrier seam tape. Roll the inside here. So this is easy enough. for anybody to be able to do. I mean, it takes a little bit of time. It's not some highly skilled thing. It'll take some practice to get good at it, but you know, once you do 3 or 4 windows, you'll be an expert for sure at it. Just remember though, roll the tape.
You can say it on every piece.
Yeah. So we did the seal edge first, the window seal edge, and then we did the 2 jam sides. Now we're doing the last piece of the head piece. And so we'll run this head piece here, cut this piece of tape, and Braden, you said you thought this was a lot of tape. Guess what? This is only the first layer. Yeah, so this is all what we call pre-flashing, right? So this is flashing before the flashing. Ha! So this is really just to get the window prepped, and then what happens is we'll actually set the windows, right? And screw them into the wall, and then we'll come, once they're actually set in here, we'll actually come on the outside of the window flange, or what they call the fin that attaches it to the wall, and flash the sides and the head again. Yes, I'll be doing this on the inside as well, but with a completely different tape system. And that's just for air barrier, right? So trying to make it as airtight as possible and make sure we don't have any leaks. So we're almost done here. So now we've got all the outside seams taped into the inside. And the last piece that we're gonna do, we're gonna go inside now and do a 6-inch piece that runs up the wall a little bit on either side to finish our window seal pan. All right, so this is the final product on the outside. We've got, again, we went ahead and taped up all of our zip system sheathing tape seams, right? Just enough to get the window pre-flashed. Then we did our inside corners on top and bottom, or on bottom and top. And then we did our seam tape on the bottom, on the jambs and on the head. And so now we've got a nice, neat, and you can see just laying out those little tick marks or lines, kept our tape nice and straight. So we got a nice pre-flashed looking opening, nice and neat. Now we're gonna go inside and finish doing the window seal. The 6-inch tape they have, so all the other tape we used right now is just like 3 3/4 inches wide. And this is another just similar tape, and we're just gonna roll this out for this window opening and do our, basically finish our seal pan here. Make a little mark here. I'm just gonna cut it now for length. Similar to what we just did outside, right? I'm just gonna peel this backing though off. This one actually has a backing. It'd be nice, and it'd be much easier if they didn't have backing on any of this stuff. Stretch tape is not so bad because it's got 2-part seam on it. The trick here is not to pull too much off of this though either. You want to pull enough off just to get the side started. So we're just going to kind of get this where we want it. Corner tool here. Nice tight corner going. Alright, and then we just kind of lay this out where we want it. Pull the backing off as we press it down. Try to keep it as straight as possible. And remember, with zip system tape, you got to roll the tape.